I would say that what surprised me was that a lot of my skills were very transferable. And
Mm-hmm.
one of those skills that I think is very key would be empathy,
Yeah.
which is really what we're talking about here when we're saying this generosity. Um, really being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and identify their pain points
Mm.
um, was the skill set that I was able to bring from working hands-on, mixing cement by hand in Ghana to now sitting down and having conversation with clients about technology products.
Yeah. I love that. I'm a real, I mean, I'm right there with you. I totally agree. I think having an understanding and empathy with like I said, the nonprofit folks that are like, hey, I'm really trying to help this, marginalized or struggling group to like the, just the, maybe multimillionaire potential client or whatever sitting across from you and really helping them to like helping to understand like where they're really coming from, I think is absolutely critical. Do you have like any strategies or anything in general that you feel like has led to you becoming more empathetic?
Yes, I would say
Mm.
that what makes you empathetic is asking better questions. Um,
Mm.
so really being coming from the best place when you're choosing to ask questions, being
Yes.
intentional, being diagnostic with those questions.
Yes.
Um,
Mm.
and that is something that actually directly translated from my international policy background into
Mm.
sales, that diagnostic language, because there are kind of these two principles of thought when it comes to international policy. One is more slapstick. Everyone can shoot to the moon. You're just behind. Catch up. And then there's the
Mm.
other idea that, you know, we have to look at every country or community as a doctor and diagnose it
Mm.
for what their specific issues may have been, what their history is. And that is the same when it comes to sales. When you're working with the client, you have to sit down, and even though you are maybe working with a portfolio that has some similarities, you need to go in
Yes.
and find those true pain points for each client that you're working with, as well as just getting to know them so that you can have that good working relationship.
100%. I love that. Well, and anybody that's ever listened to the show much knows that I'm a really big fan of the curiosity piece, like asking those questions, like you mentioned before. I argue that, I mean, whether it's in sales and nonprofit and just life in general, I think if we come from curiosity, and I mean like a genuine curiosity, like trying to ask the questions that will help us to better understand the person sitting across from us and in whatever situation we might be in, I feel like that can only lead to, I mean, a deeper relationship, but then just generally like a better understanding of what we're working with. Is that fair to say?
I think that is fair to say. Asking better questions is a principle that I actually took from the Kernel book,
Mm.
which is a fellowship I participated in. It's an Ethereum fellowship um, within the Web3 space. And I think that what I learned when it comes to working with maybe more complex technology or trying to understand a new product, no matter if it was a technology or a t-shirt, um,
Hmm.
it takes the intentionality of sitting down and understanding who you're talking to and why what you're presenting is relevant. And that comes out when you're asking
Yes.
those questions.
100%. Well, and especially in like if you're a true salesperson, like an account executive or whatever, or you're just in like a kind of a sale, like an entrepreneur is in like a selling environment where you need to like, sell your product or sell your service. I mean, I've read stats that generally speaking, I mean, obviously this changes a little bit industry to industry, but generally speaking, we need to identify roughly four pain points before someone will really consider buying something from us. And generally speaking, in order to identify those four pain points, we need to usually ask at least minimum of 12 questions to identify those things. So I said the more questions we ask with intentionality, as you said, is absolutely critical. I want to pivot here a little bit, Taken, because I feel like you've got a really unique, I mean, experience, obviously, but you like I feel like that'll lend some insight to us here. So, because I mean, you've worked in both the nonprofit world, obviously, and then also these like really high growth companies, as you've mentioned, right? So something I'm really curious to know is how do you balance like the mission driven impact with like especially a metrics driven growth? Or and like do you see any like much overlap between the two?
I think that all businesses should be purpose driven.
Mm.
And
Yep.
that would be where the overlap comes into play. When I was working with Groupmatics, we were a self-service platform for sporting teams and venues, but we were working with groups. So we were
Mm.
helping faith-based organizations, nonprofits, Girl Scouts raise funds through our platform.
Mm.
So we couldn't only be metrics driven. We had to think about the people, and we had to be
Mm.
able to empathize with them as well. I think that that would be the biggest overlap that I see, would be that purpose is at the center, hence the name of this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I really, really love that, and I mean, I'm 100% with you. Where every business I think should be purpose driven and not just like, oh, we want to make more money. Like obviously that's probably going to be a part of it to some degree, but like that can't be like our top priority, right? Like I'm a big believer that if you drive towards like, excellence, especially in excellence in helping serve your customers, serve your clients, serve nonprofit, the community, whatever it might be, I believe that money will come eventually. But I think, and again, I've mentioned this several times on the podcast, but I'm a really big believer in like future visioning. Like you need to understand where it is that you're going because I mean, how can you ever know if you got there if you don't even know where like where you're supposed to be going? So like taking the time, as again I mentioned on the show before, taking the time to sit down and saying, okay, in 5 years and 10 years or whatever it is, this is what like really like my ideal day looks like. This is what the like this is the life that I want to be leading, right? And like what does that look like for like your personal life, and what does that look like for your professional life? So I mean, just taking the time to do that, and then come back to today and saying, okay, here's how we're going to at least attempt to start driving towards those ultimate goals. I think that's absolutely critical in my mind.
Yes, visioning, um,
Yeah.
envisioning things. I use ChatGPT a lot for that these days, actually.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I like it. Bringing AI into the vision. I love it. Well, Tegan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been absolutely a phenomenal conversation. But as you know, most of my listeners like to know, I like to end with like, what are you gonna like? What's 2025 looking like for you? What's kind of the big goals we got on the horizon?
Well, I'm looking forward to traveling, spending more time with family
Love
and
it.
friends, of course. And I am a lifelong learner, so I am going
Mm.
back to school to get my MBA from Clark Atlanta University. I'm really looking forward to getting to sit down and have more formalized education around some of these topics that we've talked about today, but also really just looking forward to connecting with people that are like-minded. Um,
I love it. I love it. And then if anybody out there listening that wants to connect with you, I mean, what's the best way to connect with you?
LinkedIn, Tagan Horton, you can find me there.
I love it. Well, thanks again, Tegan. So anybody listening, I will make sure to leave Tegan's LinkedIn in the show notes so you guys can find her and connect with her just as easily as can be. But Tegan, again, thank you for coming on the show again. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. Anybody listening, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.